but I needed to catch up on my phone. So I got my phone out. There was emails to check. There was social media to have a look at, Facebook and Twitter and everything else. And in less than 20 minutes, all of that euphoria and that high had all disappeared within about 20 to 30 minutes of me browsing my phone. And that's all it took. So I want to tell you a really quick story, because this story explains how I had quite a profound discovery about how the environment that we're living in is really kind of depressing us and keeping us down, and how some simple changes can really just change our mood and lift us out of depression and lift us out of so many things. So I think the easiest thing to do is just to get straight into the story, to be honest. One Friday night, my wife went back to see her parents, so she was gone for the weekend, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Well, actually, as it happens, I haven't got anything in mind at the moment. I haven't made any plans. I was just going to see how things go." He said, "I tell you what, why don't I come and pick you up at 8:30 in the morning? I'm going to a campsite about 45 minutes away in Oxford, and I could do with some help. There's going to be some kids there that are going to be doing some activities as part of Scouts. So they'll be doing some basic camping activities. They'll be making some sandwiches. They'll be collecting some wood. Might be doing a little bit of canoeing, a bit of this and a bit of that. And I just need an extra pair of hands to just help supervise the children." So I said, "Okay, fine, let's do that then." So in the morning, he came and picked me up, 8:30 on the dot. We were in Oxford within about 45 minutes. The sun was out. It was a nice day. I, walked in, got familiar with the children, and I just started helping out. So just doing some really, really basic supervision. About an hour in, I noticed that there's no signal on my phone, and I started getting a little bit nervous. And I remember expressing that to a friend. And the only reason I was getting a little bit nervous was because I didn't want my wife to not be able to get hold of me for whatever reason. If she needed to be able to get hold of me, my phone was the only way she was going to be able to do it. And I had zero signal on my phone. So WhatsApp wasn't working, phone calls weren't working, the internet wasn't working, nothing was working. It was just dead. I don't know what it was about this location, but I had no signal. And there were some other sisters that were there that happened to know my wife, and they said, "Look, your wife knows you're here. She knows we're here as well. So why don't you go back and put your phone away in the car, because if she needs you, she can just ring one of us. So we'll keep an eye on our phones. We've got signal on our phone, so we'll just keep an eye on it. If she needs you, then, we'll let you know." I was still a bit dubious about the whole thing, but I said, okay. So I picked my phone up, went and put it in the car, and that was it. I went back to the campsite and just got on with my day. And we did really basic things all day. We didn't do anything fancy at all. We collected a little bit of wood. The kids made some sandwiches. I kind of just hung around a lot. But by the afternoon, I started to notice a little change in my state, a little bit, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And then by the evening, around about 7 or 8 o'clock, when it was time for Isha, we all got together and we prayed Isha together. And then my friend said, "Okay, shall we go home?" I said, "Yeah." So I jumped back in the car with him, and I think he dropped me off at home around about 9 p.m.-ish. So I'd been away from my phone for about 12 hours at this point. And honestly, I was on cloud 9. I felt like I'd been away on holiday for about 3 months. And bear in mind, I'd only been away for 12 hours. But I really felt like I'd been on some amazing expedition. I'd had really amazing experiences. I'd conquered the world. I'd done so many amazing things. I was in such a high emotional state, or even a spiritual state, you could say. I was in a state of abundance. I was in a state of gratitude. Everything felt right with the world. I was really happy. I was really calm. Just my state was really, really good. But the thing is, I hadn't really done anything special all day. I hadn't had this amazing holiday, really. It wasn't like I'd gone canoeing myself. I hadn't done a skydive. I hadn't walked, through mountains or seen some amazing rivers. I hadn't done anything. All day that I'd done was just really, really basic things. But the one thing that was different about that day compared to every other day was I hadn't been on my phone at all. I hadn't touched my phone all day. And I started to suspect that maybe that was the reason why I was feeling so good, but I needed to catch up on my phone. So I got my phone out. There was emails to check. There was social media to have a look at, Facebook and Twitter and everything else. And in less than 20 minutes, all of that euphoria and that high had all disappeared within about 20 to 30 minutes of me browsing my phone. That's all it took. And I don't know what it was specifically on my phone that did that. Was it some bad news that I read somewhere, or was it just because it's the electromagnetic waves from the phone? And since then, I've realized that, some of the shuyukh, they talk about the sensory, that the more you are into the sensory world, the more you're going to be away from your heart. And the more you remove yourself from the sensory, the more you can get into the heart. And the heart is where, the states of euphoria are. That's where the state of gratitude is, the state of abundance, these kind of things. And I've realized that what is sensory is things like watching TV, mobile phone, it's screen things, anything that makes your brain run. But when you're going for a walk, your brain's not that active. You kind of just slip into your subconscious, so to speak, right? You take in the air, you take in the elements, and that's all you're really doing. And you get out of your head. And I think the problem with all these things is laptops and mobile phones and the TV. They put us back into our head, and it's all about getting out of our heads. We spend all day at work on our laptops, in front of computer screens. We come home, we're in front of the TV, we're on our mobile phones in bed, we're on our mobile phones first thing in the morning. There's too much sensory input. And I think that's really affecting our emotional states. And I think, we really need to go back to doing things where we're out in nature, where we're not having to rely on our phones. And unfortunately, it's too difficult to do that. But I'm really looking forward to if we can get to a place where we can start doing that more, where we can put our phones away. I've noticed that even if I put my phone away for an hour or two, my state does start to change. Even if I'm not doing anything particularly special. I think a lot of us, when we're looking to recharge and we're looking to go on holiday, we want, expensive flights, expensive hotel accommodation, we're going far and away because we want to achieve the state of relaxation, the state of euphoria. We could actually achieve that by just putting our phones away and just doing things in the day where we're not in front of the TV. Like one of the things that I like to do when I'm on holiday is that even if I'm in the hotel room at the end of the day, I like not to put the TV on because it's sensory input. But a lot of other people like to do that. And I think fine. But for me, I find that if I just remove myself from that sensory input, it can actually be really, really good. Just things that don't make our brain work, that don't make us think, but just things where we can just kind of switch off. You go for a walk, even for an hour, you put your phone away and just go for a walk in the woods for even an hour, or just, go in the fields where there's cows or something, and you immediately start to feel much, much better. But I'm trying to seek a society, I'm trying to move into a position where we can do that more, where we can just be away from sensory input. I really think we need that a lot more. But unfortunately, this society has become the kind of society where it's just too hard to get away from that.